Really want to improve the life of the person sitting beside you. In fact, that's why you brought him here, right? That you brought him here for that reason. And so if you and I, if we were just sitting at this table, just the two of us, and I was having a one-on-one conversation, and that would be so much fun for me just to individually talk to all of you. But if you were sitting across from me at a table and you asked me, John, in your 77 years, as you look back, is there one thing that you can just point to and say, that was the key? That was the key. Now, first of all, I'm a person of faith. If you ask that question, I talk about my relationship with God. So the spiritual part is, I think, probably understood here among you. But if you said, beyond that, John, if there's one thing that you could just point to and say, yeah, I think that unlocked a lot of doors for me. I think that took me to higher ground. I would share with you what I'm going to share with you now. Because I want to talk to you now about personal growth, about you developing yourself as a person. And how that if you are committed in your life to intentionally, continually, consistently get better, grow yourself, that I will almost promise you, not only the content company, but in anything that you do, anything that you do, I can almost promise you that you're going to be very, very successful. You see, my life changed. I was having breakfast at the Holiday Inn in Lancaster, Ohio, and one of my mentors, Kurt Kampmeyer, was with me, and it was clear back. I'm talking about 1974. I'm talking about 51 years ago. And he asked me if I had a plan for growth in my life, if I had a personal growth plan, and I did not. I not only didn't, honestly, I didn't know I was supposed to. Nobody ever came and walked into my life and said, John, you need to have a personal growth plan. And so I said, no, I don't have one. And that day's conversation changed my life. Because he basically said to me, John, you need to get a growth plan. You need to have an intentional personal growth plan in your life. And then he said something that just caught my attention. He said, getting older is automatic. Getting better isn't. You don't get better automatically just because you get older. He said, you're going to have to become intentional. You're going to have a growth plan. And so I started going to my friends and I started asking them, do you have a growth plan? And probably for the, next 6 months, I asked that question. I'll bet I asked that question 300 times. I didn't find one person that had a personal growth plan. What I found was a lot of people that were hoping that tomorrow gets better. And I just want you to know, hope is not a strategy. I met a lot of people who thought, well, I'm just working hard, and so if I just keep working hard, that'll be all I need. I just ran into a lot of really good people, just like me, that were not intentional in their growth. So I'm going to do my best in this time that I have to help you see the upside of intentional personal growth in your life. I'm going to take just a minute to talk about success in my life. I don't talk much about it because I personally really don't like to talk about it. But I'm doing it for one reason only. Everything you're about to hear is because I have committed myself since that age for the last 51 years to every day developing and personally growing myself. So in my writing, I wasn't a good writer in the beginning. In fact, I wasn't any good at all. I'm not being humble. I'm not even being modest. I just wasn't good. My first book was entitled "Think on These Things." You just have to understand there's nothing to think about when you read it. Again, it just wasn't any good. In fact, it bothers me. The book is still in print. It bothers me, and I go to the publisher every year and offer to pay him a nice price to get it out of print. I say, can I buy my book out of print? Because it's not any good. And they won't, because it sells because of my name now, so they keep it in it. And so every once in a while people, let me explain this to you. The book is called Think on These Things. It's about 120 pages, and there are like 33 chapters. Do the math. That's about 3.5 pages per chapter. In fact, the lady brought the book the other day for me to sign it, and she was so excited. I go, as soon as I see the book, I go, open it. And she said, oh, I love this book. I said, what do you love about the book? She said, the short chapters. She said, then she got into this. What made you think of writing short chapters? I just love your short chapters. She said, how did you come to the conclusion you ought to write short chapters? I said, lady, the chapters are short because I didn't have anything else to say. In fact, some of the chapters are like 3 pages too long. You understand? You just can't even fathom how bad the book is. No one would ever look at me when I started. No one would ever look at me when I started and said, you're going to be highly successful as an author. I heard Steve talking about 34 million books. Steve, it's 38, but who's counting? No one would ever pick me to do 38 million books. I wouldn't have picked myself to do 38 million books. But because of personal growth, because I was willing to study and learn how to write and be mentored by people that were much bigger, better, and faster and smarter than me, all of a sudden my books began to sell. Now I'm the #1 nonfiction author in the world. I would have never imagined that could have happened to me. It was personal growth. It was my commitment to learn and study and be teachable and humble myself and say, I don't know it all and I want to know more. And how do I do better? And how do I grow? And talk to people again that were bigger, better, faster, and smarter than me. In the area of communication, I wish you could have heard me speak the first time. Again, I'm not being modest, but I was terrible. I mean, you say, now, John, what do you mean by terrible? Well, let me explain to you. I was in college, and I had a college buddy that was going to preach his first sermon, because we were theologues. And so he said, would you go with me while I preach my first sermon? I said, sure, I'll go and encourage you. And I got there on the front row, and he got up, and before I ever started speaking, he just sweating. He was nervous. He was just sweating out of a handkerchief. And so he started speaking, and he kept forgetting what he was about to say. And he'd say a few words, and then he'd forget. He'd say, oh, Lord, help me. He'd wipe some sweat off, and he'd say just a few words. Oh, Lord, help me. Oh, help me, Lord. Oh, Lord, help me. Help me, Lord. He's up there for like 2 or 3, and I mean, it's terrible. It's just awful. It's just, I can't even describe how bad he was. Oh, Lord, help me, Lord. And for a while, as soon as I saw he was in trouble, and I started praying myself, oh, Lord, help me. Lord, help me. Lord, help me. And I saw the Lord wasn't. He wasn't at all helping. And then when I realized the Lord wasn't going to help me, I changed. I said, oh, Lord, help us. Help us. Help us. Strike us with deafness. Do something. I don't know what you're going to do. Oh, it lasted. His first sermon lasted 3.5 minutes. It was terrible. We had to go 30 miles back to the college campus that night. It was the worst ride of my life. I mean, I'm sitting beside a guy that did his first talk, and it was terrible. And I had the gift of encouragement, and the gift wasn't working that night. It wasn't working. I couldn't think. The only thing I could say to him is it was a nice short sermon. The next week, I'm going to do my first message. Well, now I'm terribly nervous. I'm in bad shape because all I can remember is Dawn with a handkerchief saying, Lord, help me. And I thought, my gosh, she only spoke for 3 minutes. I said, I have got to develop a lesson or a teaching that's going to be bigger than life. I can't do like a Lord, help me deal. And Margaret was my fiancée at that time, and I asked her to go with me, and she knew I was concerned. So to give you an idea how concerned I was to last longer than 3.5 minutes, I'll give you my outline that I preached that day. This is the first outline I ever had. I'm just letting you know how I started, okay? The outline was sin, salvation, how the Holy Spirit works, prayer, Bible reading, witnessing. In other words, the whole Bible. And I never said, Lord, help me once. I didn't sweat at all. I just got up and I went through this outline, and when I got done, I kind of felt good. Well, I felt good until Margaret and I were going back to the campus. And she was quiet. And I recognized that. The week before, I was quiet. I thought, oh, there's a similarity here. And finally, I just got old, and I said, well, how'd I do? said, well, she said, it was your first time. And then she said, I have good news for you. I said, oh, good, I'll take good news. She said, you went longer than 3 minutes. I was victory, folks. I was like touchdown, right there. I was just touchdown. I said, oh my gosh, I went longer than 3 minutes. And I didn't sweat, and I didn't say, Lord, help me. And she said, no, you didn't do any of that. I said, well, how long did I speak? And she said, 55 minutes. A year later, I went back to that same congregation to speak again, and I went there to apologize. I went there to say, I'm so sorry, I was here a year ago, and I put that on you, and I wanted to apologize, but then I started laughing because nobody that was there a year ago came back. Why would you come back to hear a 55-minute sermon on the world and all that is within it? I've spoken now over 13,000 times. I've done the opening session for the United Nations. On Martin Luther King Day, I spoke in Atlanta, his church, on nationwide television. I have literally spoken to governments, presidents. I have been incredibly blessed to do. In fact, when the Soviet Union fell, I was the first speaker invited in to Moscow to go to the Kremlin to speak to 5,000 communist leaders what it was going to be like to have leadership in a different type of country. So I can tell you story after story where I've been. Now I'm telling you that only just, you got to understand again. You got to understand. The only reason I've had that privilege is because of personal growth. You have to understand that everything I talk to you about is based on the fact that every day I intentionally grow. And it is my passion this morning in this session to absolutely convince every one of you that if you just get on a very, not complicated, not difficult, not strenuous, if you just get on a very simple growth plan, that you can develop and it can be absolutely amazing in your life. When I decided to grow, when I decided to go into personal growth, and you have to understand, I didn't know how to get a growth plan. I didn't even know how to put it together. In fact, I found that Success Motivation Institute in White Waco, Texas, Paul J. Meyer had a kit on goal setting, and it was $799. This is, I mean, we're talking about 50 years ago. We didn't have any credit cards. Mark and I were just we didn't have any money. And I sat down with her and I said, I need to get this, but of course we don't have any money. We saved for 6 months. We just saved, we didn't go out to eat, we just saved for 6 months. I finally got the $799 and I went and got the personal growth kit. And for 2 years, it had cassette tapes, it had workbooks, it had exercise. And for 2 years, I just stayed and I worked on personal goal setting and personal growth. And it was life-changing to me. In fact, if you go into my office today, my desk is here, and right over to my left, I have that kit. I paid $799 for it. It was worth millions of dollars for me. It was the first time that I invested in myself. I'll talk to you in a little moment about you investing in you. Because the first person you need to invest in is you, and that isn't a selfish statement. That's a leadership statement. Listen to me carefully. You cannot give what you do not have. It's impossible. You can only give to your team what you know, what you've done, how you've grown. You're going to determine the size of your team. You're going to be the lid on them, or you're going to be the lifter in their life. I promise you, as you go, they'll go. And when I look back and I realize that when I began to grow, I gave hope to the people on my team. I could look at them with integrity and say, you're going to grow too. Life's going to be better for you. You're going to learn also. And as I began to do this personal growth, I went through 2 changes. And again, I'm just being real personal with you this morning because this is a simple teaching, but I was up till 1 this morning, and I got up early today, and I just prayed about it, because I want to deliver something for you that's helpful and practical and life-changing. So when you go home, you've got some meat and potatoes, you got something you can hold on to. And as I thought about this, I thought about this, and I thought to myself, if I could just help you understand the value of investing in yourself and the value of developing yourself. But there were two growth changes I went through when I started my growth plan. And the first one was this. In the beginning, I tried to grow in everything. I said, oh my gosh, if I gotta grow. And so I just started reading, and I was trying to learn everything. And all of a sudden it hit me after not long, maybe 2 weeks, that I don't need to grow in everything, but I need to grow in the essential things. And I put away everything, and I started growing in what I call the essentials. You're going to hear that a lot today. You got to figure out what is essential to your success. So today, I do the essentials only. I'm not a well-rounded person. If we were playing the gift of trivia today, or the game of trivia, I would lose. In fact, I can tell you, I played the game 3 times, and I was the last all 3 times I played the game. I'm not any good at trivia. Now, there's a reason I'm not any good at trivia. It's trivia. What part of trivia do you not understand? No one has ever succeeded in life over trivia. It's the essentials. It's the things in your life that will mark you and make you. They'll mark you until you'll not forget them, and they'll make you someone that you could never in your life imagine. So I went from trying to grow in every area that I said I got to reduce my life down to essentials, and I came to the conclusion. It took me about 2 years to do this. I came to the conclusion that there are 5 essentials that I need to grow in. Okay, I'm going to give them to you now. I'm not saying that these will be your 5. I am saying that they could be and probably should be. Because if you can do these 5 things well, you can be successful regardless of any profession that you're in. I know this for a fact. I've tested this for over 50 years. The 5 areas that I said that I have to personally develop and be intentional in growing. In fact, just think of the word clear, C-L-E-A-R. Now, the letter C is communication. I realized that if I was going to be successful, I had to have the ability to communicate and connect with people, because that's what successful people do. Communication is so essential. In fact, Warren Buffett, who is known for his money, Warren Buffett says the most important skill that any person can ever develop in their life is communication. The ability to cast vision, to be contagious, to when you say something, people rally to that cause. And so I thought, okay, I've got to learn how to communicate well. The letter L is leadership. Everything rises and falls on leadership. I better learn how to, this is an area I better really grow. I better grow as a leader. I better learn how to lead myself. I better learn how to lead people. The letter E is for equipping. I better learn how to develop teams. I better learn how to take people and equip them, because the only way that you can compound your success is with others and through others. If you don't work and develop teams, if you're the Lone Ranger, if you're a solo act, if you're a soloist instead of a conductor, you'll never have great success in this business or any business. Because you compound your time, you compound your influence, you compound your money. Everything compounds when you can develop and train people and develop it. And so many of the awards last night I noticed were for people that had brought other people in the organization, were trained. I promise you, I'm a training, equipping guru. I understand it. We have the largest training company in the world. We've trained 6 million leaders in every country in the world. I got training down. I got equipping down. I've got millions of legs to my legacy. If you want to know what one man can do, just watch one man do it. But if you want to watch what many people can do, It'll shock you and surprise you. The huge return. So I have to learn how to equip people. I got to learn how to lead. I got to learn how to communicate. I got to grow in these areas. The letter A, C-L-E-A. I was just checking. I didn't learn spelling. That wasn't my strength. The letter A is attitude. The ability to have resiliency and tenacity of attitude in difficult times. You see, difficult times separates the players from the pretenders. And I know that. And so I have to begin to grow my attitude, especially in areas of difficulty, adversity, climbing the hill, anything that was challenging in life. Because most people, they're not successful because they couldn't be successful. They're successful because they quit. And nobody ever quit their way to the top. So, okay, how do I develop this incredible attitude that just handles failure and rejection and just goes and keeps on going when everybody else stops? And by the way, this is a great thing. You see, during difficult times, I love difficult times. It's just huge. I'll probably talk about it later. Maybe, I don't know. I love difficult times because, in business, you're always trying to either beat the competition or get rid of the competition. This is so huge. During difficult times, the difficult times gets rid of the competition for you. I love this. Oh my gosh. When it's bad, I go, oh. Another one bit the dust, yeah. Another one left, oh my gosh. I was working hard to beat them. I don't even have to work hard. They just quit. The letter R is relationships. The ability just to get along with people. Just that simple. You see, if you don't get along with people, you're having a lot of trouble in the people business. This isn't the roofing business. This is the agriculture. This is the people business. This is a people business. And if you're not good with people, you're not good. You're not going to do good at hunting. You're not going to do good. But don't go somewhere else because you're not going to be good there either. If you're bad with people, just listen to me. My name is John. I'm your friend. If you're bad with people, you need to be a toll booth operator. They need to put you alone somewhere where you can't do any damage. I'm always amazed. I watch people that aren't good people in the people business. And I thought, what are they doing? How do they get in the people business? They don't even like people. I want to take them to lunch and buy their lunch. Look at them. Say, my name is John. I'm your friend. Let me share something with you. People don't like you. Just amazes me. And you're in the people business. They won't go along with you if they can't get along with you. So I said, I've got to learn relational strengths. I've got to learn how to connect with people. I've got to learn how to add value to people. I've got to up my relational game. I got to up my attitude game. I got to up my equipping game. I got to up my leadership game. I got to up my communication game. And those are the 5 things. Those are the 5 essentials. And then I made another change. The second change I made in my personal growth is in the beginning I had a timeline. How long will this take? And as I've grown now for all these years, I don't have a timeline now. I've changed the growth with a timeline to growth without a finish line. There's no finish line now, and let me just explain to you about that. You see, when I was in my 20s, I heard Earl Nightingale say that if you spent 1 hour every day on the same subject for 5 years, you could become an expert on the subject. And I was in love with leadership, and I said, I'm going to do that. I'm going to spend 1 hour a day, every day, on the subject of leadership for 5 years, so I'll become an expert on leadership. Now, what Earl Nightingale did is he planted into my mind a timeline. 5 years, expert, leadership, 5 years. And so I started my growth journey in leadership, 1 hour a day, every day on leadership. Reading leadership, talking to leaders, doing leadership projects, asking leadership, every day. But I was on a timeline. How long will it take? 5, 4, 3, 2. I mean, I was like Mr. Cape Canaveral. But something happened. Halfway through my 5 years, I quit asking a question that I asked every day for the first 3. How long will it take? Well, how long will it take? Well, I mean, I'm doing leadership again. How long will it take? I mean, Earl said it's going to take 5 years. How long will it take? How long will it take? And about in the middle of that 5-year time, all of a sudden I quit asking how long will it take, because I was changing, I was growing, I was developing. Guess what? I was becoming a good leader. I was still a kid, but people were listening, and they were starting to follow, and I was developing teams. And by the time I was 28, I pastored the 10th largest church in America. I'm a kid. People are coming in throngs to hear me and follow me. Now listen to me carefully. It's because I'm growing as a leader. Now when you start growing as a leader, or when you start growing in any area of your life, you quit asking how long will it take, because it gets fun. You only ask how long will it take if you're in prison. If you're in jail, it's a good question. How long will it take? How long will it take? Well, just how long will it take? How long? But when you start growing, you don't ask how long will it take, because all of a sudden, I had a mentor when I was about 32 said, growth is happiness. He's exactly right. All the people that came across stage last night and got these presidential awards and all this stuff, can I tell you, they were happy people. I didn't see any of them coming up sad. I didn't see anybody coming up just kind of discouraged, thinking about quitting. No, they were all happy. Now, why are they all happy? Because they're growing their business. They're getting better. You see, growth is happiness. And the moment you have growth as fulfilling and happy in your life, you quit asking the question, how long will it take? And I haven't asked that question for over 50 years. I still don't ask that question, how long will it take? You see, I replaced how long will it take that question with another one. Because once I experienced growth and development and improvement in my life, and I realized I'm getting much better, and this getting better has a relationship with me getting more successful. This is huge, folks. When I began to understand how I was learning and growing and influencing, it was getting better. I quit asking how long will it take, and I started asking another question that I'm still asking today, because I still haven't answered this question. How far can I go? How far can I go? And I don't know that yet. You say, what do you mean you don't know? I don't know. I'm 77, but my companies are still growing, and I'm just, everything's getting better, and I don't know how far I can go. But I can promise you this: I haven't reached my potential yet. I told you I have 14 books in my book, Birthline. They're books that need to be birthed yet, that I want to write, and they're all screaming at me at the same time, write me. In fact, I was talking to God about the other day. I said, I've got 14 books to write. So you're going to have to let me live a long time. I know you're not supposed to negotiate with God, but it doesn't hurt. You know what I'm saying? Give it your best shot. Just give it your best shot. And one of the books I want to write is going to be a question. Right on the front cover. Is there a finish line? Is there a finish line? You see, for most people, there is a finish line. They have a self-imposed finish line. When I get a certain age, I'll retire. When I make X amount of money, I won't work anymore. And they put in these self-imposed finish lines. And what they don't understand is, this is very simple. If you have a self-imposed finish line and you cross it, you're finished. What part of that do you not understand? What part of that do you not understand? I watch people still alive, but not accomplishing anything in life. They're officially alive, but they're unofficially dead. So I'm 77. I'm not retiring. Not wanting to retire. Somebody asked me the other day, said, well, can you afford it? Well, first of all, let me say, I don't have a bull named America. So, I mean, there are some people that are, whoo! But I've sold 38 million books. Do the math. I think I can afford to retire. But I want to retire. In fact, somebody told me the other day that retirement is doing what you want to do anytime you want to do it. And I said, well, then I'm already retired. I'm doing exactly what I want to do today. I would rather be with you right now, doing what I'm doing, and hoping that I'm helping you and adding value to you than anything else I can think of. I'm right now in my sweet spot. This is huge. So now let's take what I've been teaching. Let's take all this stuff, because this becomes absolutely huge. I made 2 growth decisions, and my 2 growth decisions was that I would either find a growth environment or I would create a growth environment for myself. Because we prosper best in an environment that is conducive for growth. Again, I sat at the front table last night and I watched the award ceremony. And I thought how fortunate you are. How fortunate you are that you're the competent company. How fortunate you are that you're in an organization that encourages growth and encourages entrepreneurship and lifts the ceiling for you and said you can go higher than you've ever gone and you can do more than you've ever done and you can see farther than you've ever seen. How beautiful to be in a company that has a growth climate that's conducive for your growth. This is a beautiful thing. Most people never have your privilege. Most people aren't in a company that has a growth environment. Most people, they go to jobs that there's a ceiling and a limitation, and they're in a box, and they're just constantly, they go to work every day. No wonder they don't like to go to work. They hit the lid of bad leadership. And, in fact, what happens is if you're in this kind of an organization, you just got a big lid, and you just keep hitting your head on that lid. One day when you go to work, you do this. Oh, that feels so much better. You see, what happens is when you're in an environment that it's not conducive to growth, it's only a matter of time till you don't need a box or a lid. You'll limit yourself. You'll limit yourself because of the people that you're around. But you get in this environment, you get around these tables, you hear these stories, you see the people's lives that are being changed, you see the hope that is being given and the value that's being added. Are you kidding me? You're in a huge growth environment. I didn't have that privilege. I didn't have it. I was in an organization that they didn't grow at all. In fact, their idea of progress was moving backwards slowly. Man, if they could just live another day, they were happy. So I had to create my own. Growth environment. I wasn't privileged like you. I had to get my own growth environment and put walls around my side. I had to develop my own, and I started doing it. And the first thing I decided was that a growth environment is a place where other people are ahead of you. In other words, they're bigger than you, they're better than you, they're faster than you. You never want to be at the head of the class. When you're at the head of the class, you're in the wrong class. You always want to have somebody stretching you, giving you new thoughts, new dimensions, new territory to take in your life. Man, I started saying, okay, a growth environment is where people are ahead of me. A growth environment is where the atmosphere is encouraging and affirming. And I went through and I developed 10 characteristics of a growth environment, and it just helped me. The second thing I did is I made a commitment to greatly believe in myself. Listen carefully to me. In fact, what I'm going to give you now is out of my book, The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. It's called the Law of the Mirror. And the Law of the Mirror just simply says, you must see value in yourself before you add value to others. Don't miss it. You've got to see value in yourself before you add value to others. If I don't value me, I won't value you. And if I don't value me, I won't grow me. But if I don't value me and I don't grow me, I won't value you and I won't grow you. So this law of the mirror basically says, let's talk about your self-worth. I have the largest coaching company in the world. Some of you are coaches in our company. You've come up to me and said, we have 56,000 coaches in 172 countries. And when we bring them in and we begin to teach them, what does a John Maxwell coach look like? What's the DNA of a John Maxwell coach? The first thing I teach them is this: we are people of value who value people and add value to them. That's who we are. We're people of value. I'm a person of value. That's why I'm adding value to you. And when you add value to people, it's because you value them. So you value yourself, you value the people, and you add value to them. This is huge. Now, watch this. If my self-worth is not good, let's say from a 1 to a 10, I'm a 2. It's not good. The level of my self-worth will determine the level of investment I make in myself. So if I'm a 2 in my self-worth, I won't invest in me. Why would I invest in me? Why would you invest in yourself if you don't believe in yourself? Why would I invest in me if I don't believe in me? So one of the first things I realize is that you help people with their self-worth. You see, we talk about words of affirmation. We talk about belief. To be honest with you, that stuff's overrated. You can give people words of affirmation, but if they don't perform and produce, after a while, that becomes discouraging instead of encouraging to them, because you're telling them something they're not. But when you lift self-worth and a person feels greatly valued, I mean, Jesus, what did he say? Love your neighbors yourself. You know what he assumed? He assumed that you had self-love. He assumed that you valued yourself, because he basically said, value your neighbors, you value yourself. You'll invest in yourself to the degree of how much you value yourself. If you have a number 9 on 10 in self-worth, you'll invest a 9 in you'll invest the number of your self-worth every time in yourself, and it will be the same with others. If you have a 2 on your head, you'll put a 2 on everybody else's head, and they can't prosper under 2. You say, well, I've got a lot of people in my organization, but they're not producing. Well, they're not producing because you got a 2 on their head. If you put a 2 on their head, they act like a 2, work like a 2, think like a 2, live like a 2, they're a 2. But the moment that you lift that number, you begin to invest in yourself and you begin to invest in others. It's absolutely huge. So here's what happened. Once I got to the essentials, CLEAR, communicate, lead, equip, attitude development, relationships. Once I started in what I call the essentials, I began to experience terrific success. And then the transformation begins. The moment that I realized that I am becoming successful, I now began to look at others and say, and how can I help them be successful? You see, the moment you win, you begin to increase your appetite to help other people win and help other people get better. In fact, I had a lady come up to me lately and she said, John, I know why you're successful. I said, well, this will be interesting. Why am I successful? She says, you're very successful helping people become very successful. And I smiled. I said, I'll take that. I'll live for that. If when I leave you, get on a plane and go to California to speak, if I can sit in my plane and smile and say I added value to you and I gave you some practice that would help you begin to do your personal growth to a greater degree, I can promise you there is not a reward in life. There's not enough money. There's not enough stuff in life that can fulfill somebody once they add value. Think about your teams. When you see your team members grow and do better and become a little bit more successful, think of what that does for you. Life-changing. So let me take a little bit of my time and break down the CLEAR for you. Let me take maybe 8 to 10 minutes on communication. then leadership. And let me just kind of walk you through, so it just gives you clarity on kind of what you need to do and where you need to go. But before I do that, let me ask you a question. Are you learning something? Yeah. Are you learning something? Okay, you're learning something? Okay, look at your neighbor and say, I'm learning something. Tell him that.
I'm learning something.
Look back at your neighbor and say, not near enough yet.
Oh, this guy, not near enough yet.
You're waiting to say that anyway, weren't you? Let's talk about communication. If you want to go in depth in communication, I've had 2 books I would suggest. The 16 Laws of Communication. I wrote that a couple of years ago. Or Everyone Communicates, Few Connect. 2 real good, strong books on communication. One of the laws of communication is what I want to talk to you about for a couple of minutes. It's the law of connecting. And the law of connecting says communicators know that it's all about others. The great communicators realize it's not about me, it's about you. Today, it's not about me on stage, it's about you. That's what allows great communicators to connect with people. So when we were doing the 16 laws and getting ready for it to come out, we did an evergreen video on communication. And so we went into this auditorium, and I had the cameraman start with me sitting out in the auditorium in a seat. Now, I'm teaching communication. You wouldn't think I would start in the auditorium in a seat where the people sit. You'd think I would start on a stage. And as soon as the cameras came on, I looked right into them and I said, communication isn't about the stage. It's about the seat in the auditorium. Because every great communicator understands there is no change from the stage. All the change that happens in this room now is in your seat. As you listen, as you learn, as you take notes, as you make decisions. You see, everything worthwhile in this room isn't here on stage, it's in the seat. All great communication, all great connecting begins in the seat. Wow. I can still remember many, many years ago hearing who became, not at that time, but later on became a very close friend, Zig Ziglar. I can still remember Zig saying in Dayton, Ohio, the first time I heard him speak, if you help people get what they want, they'll help you get everything in life that you want. So simple, isn't it? I remember there were 12,000 people in the Dayton arena, and I was on the front row, and when I heard Zig say that, man, I wrote that down, and I did a paradigm shift in my leadership, because up until that time, it was about me, not the people. How many people could I get on my team? How many people could I get to see my vision? How many people could I get on my leadership train? And all of a sudden, Zig said, no, turn it. All great connectors know it's about the people. It's not about you. And the best advice, when somebody comes and says, in communication, John, what is the best advice that you give people? I would give it to you right now. Trust me, it's simple. You'll understand it immediately, and it's life-changing. You won't like it, but it's still life-changing. If you want to be a great communicator, my name is John. Remember, I'm your friend. If you want to be a great communicator, get over yourself. Dear God, get over yourself. It's not about you. I'm so sorry. It's not about you. I tell people all the time, you ought to laugh at yourself a lot more because everyone else is. And it amazes me how many people, it's all about them. And they get up to speak and it's all about them. And I hope I do a good job and I hope they like me. And I hope I get a nice round of applause. And it's all about them. And my best advice is just listen to me. Friend, just get over yourself. You're really not that good. You're not that high. Okay? In fact, I'm writing songs now. I've been writing songs. I go to Nashville twice a year about my books. The guy that has the largest writing company in Nashville has read my stuff, and he got a hold of me about 3 years ago and he said, John, you need to write books about your book. You need to write songs about your books. And so I go to Nashville, I go in the studio, they give me the top writers, I mean really good writers, I mean #1 writers, and then we go in and we write songs about my books. And one of my songs that I just love is entitled Get Over Yourself. And the chorus on Get Over Yourself, by the way, if you my songs, they're really doing good. But I don't even know how you get them. I've never figured it out, but you can get them. Do you know how to get songs? I mean, you hit something on your phone, and you get them, okay? Do you know, how many of you know how to get songs? Okay, we're safe. Some of you don't. Well, we may be in trouble. Okay. You'll be fine. I think I have 6 or 7 songs out. I'm about to have a million seller, and I've got million seller books, but I've never had a million seller songs, so it's kind of fun. But Get Over Yourself. This is the chorus. I have to find myself, to know myself, to be myself, to improve myself, to get over myself, so I can give myself to you. You never give yourself to anyone until you get over yourself first. A selfish person never connects. If it's about me, I will connect with you. But the moment that I get over myself and I connect with you, everything changes. So every Palm Sunday, I read this to myself. Every Palm Sunday. I go to church, but I also read this to myself. I know the pastor didn't want to read this to me. It's entitled, Jesus Rides into Jerusalem on an Ass. Just need a drink of water before I read it to you. Just fasten your seatbelts. It was the first Palm Sunday, and here came Jesus, riding into Jerusalem on an ass. Great crowds began to shout, Hosanna, Hosanna. Some threw down their coats on the road. Others spread out palm branches. And the ass perked up his ears. He said, "Whoa, I had no idea they thought so well of me." Get the point? If anyone comes to you after you have taught a lesson or done some kind of noble deed and says, "Wow, that was terrific," they're not actually saying Hosanna to you. You're just the ass that carries Jesus. Someone told me one time, said, "John, I just can't believe what you said." I said, "You'd be more impressed if you knew what I didn't say." One of the great things about being 77 is people don't like it. I just look at them and say, "Take a pill, I'm going to die. Just relax, just take a pill. I'm going to die. Now, how do you go from being an ass to an asset? It may be 2 letters, but there's a major difference between the two. Number 1, don't take yourself seriously. Don't take yourself seriously. Walk slowly through the crowds. Don't set yourself apart from people. Don't get on some kind of a pedestal. I don't want fans. I want friends. The problem with success is it separates you from people. I've witnessed it in my life. And I don't like the separation. So I do everything I can to constantly close that gap. Hang. Just be with the people. Love on them and care for them. Just don't take yourself seriously. When we were growing, I can still remember our companies were really growing when I was still pastoring in San Diego, and I was already starting companies while I was pastoring because I have a huge entrepreneur. I was a born entrepreneur. I didn't come out of my mother's womb with the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership, but I was thinking about it. and so we were in a shopping center. We just kept buying these little stores because we kept expanding. We needed more room, and we didn't have room for me. I didn't have an office. I didn't have an office, which is fine. I didn't need an office. I just walk around to other people's offices and talk to them. the #1 leadership magazine in the world was coming to do a cover story on me on leadership. And so my people knew it. And they were kind of concerned because they said, we're in a strip mall, we don't have good facilities, we don't look good, and they were all worried. They said, and you don't even have an office when they come to do the interview. I said, it's all right, it's not a problem. I don't need an office. Well, I'll figure it out. And about 2 weeks before they were going to come to the interview, I was going down the last little, very, very little hallway that went out to the alley where the dumpster was. And to the left was a maintenance closet that had a couple mops and just maintenance stuff. And all of a sudden it hit me. Well, this could be my office. So I got a couple of people to help me. We took out the mops and the office was only like 6 by 9. Okay, so it wasn't big. But I thought, so we cleaned it out. And then I thought, well, I need a desk, but you can't put like a regular desk in there. It's not big enough. So I got a card table. One of those folding card tables, so you could kind of fold it up, and then you could put the card table out. Then I got me a folding chair because didn't have room so that I could fold it up. And then so what I really do is I get the folding chair and then undo the card table, and that was my office. And then I had like cement blocks and. I want to make it look like an office, so I took a cement nail. I put a picture of my family up there on there. So I got my chair and folding table, another chair. Then they came for them to interview me on leadership. So I said, sure. I said, come on back to my office. Let's do the interview. They got 5 people. They got 5 people. I'm going back to this little broom closet office. I'm hysterically laughing. I said, what am I going to do with these people here? So I got to my office. I said, now we have to kind of do this order. I said, there's not a lot of room, so I'll go in first. So I can get the folding chair and open it, and then I'll get the folding table. And then here's a folding chair. You can take you can undo the folding. And I said, there was a guy with a camera. I said, okay, we don't have. Do you mind standing over there in the corner? And I said, it'll be a close-up shot, so you don't have any problem there. And then they had a video guy, and I said, you don't have to do the whole video, do you? Every once in a while, just lean in and do what you got to do, and kind of lean back out. So we sat down, and I watched them. I'm just cracking up on the side. They're looking around. I'm going to be on the cover of the top leadership magazine in the world. They're looking around, and they can't even fathom this is my. So they asked the first question, I answered it. And they asked the second question, I answered it. And they found I couldn't take it anymore. And the guy looked at me, he said, I'm sorry. He said, I just have to ask these questions. Is this your office? I said, yeah. I said, I'm so excited. I just had it a couple weeks. I haven't had it very long. I'm just so excited to have this office. And then I said, roll your cameras because I'm going to now talk to you about leadership. You don't need a big office to be a great leader. You can have a broom closet and lead well. I tell you, if you can't lead well, you can't have a big office. It has nothing to do with your parking place or your office or any of that other stuff in life. So don't take yourself seriously. Just relax and be intentional. Be very intentional in seeking to understand the people, because the greatest mistake in leadership is leading by assumption. When we lead by assumption, we don't know where the people are, but we think we know where the people are. You got to find them before you can lead them. Linda Kaplan-Taylor, great friend of mine, huge marketing lady. She's the one that put "Where's the beef in Wendy's?" That's an old commercial. Remember that one? She's the one. Oh, okay. She put the duck in Aflac. Huh? And that, oh yeah, everybody remembers the stupid duck. It makes no sense at all. I've had more discussion on that. Why did you put a dumb duck? It's now made Aflac the third most recognized company in America. And before she did the duck, nobody knew who Aflac was. Quack, quack. So she was going to do an interview with Warren Buffett out in Omaha, and we were talking one day. She said, I don't know if I should go. He's only said he could give me 10 minutes. She said, it seems like a long way to do 10 minutes. I said, go. I said, it's Warren Buffett. You never know what that 10 minutes is going to do. Now watch this. She studied up on Warren Buffett. She found out that his favorite beverage is cherry Coke. So the day that she walked into his office for the 10-minute interview, she had a glass of ice and a can of cherry Coke. And she walked in and sat beside him, introduced herself, he introduced himself. She said, Mr. Buffett, I understand that your favorite beverage is cherry Coke. Is that right? Oh, he said, I love cherry Coke. She put the glass down, she opened up the can, she poured him a cherry Coke, and she said, we don't have a lot of time together, but I wanted to make it memorable. I wanted to bring you your favorite beverage. He said, how long do we have? She said 10 minutes. Oh, he said, anybody that brings me cherry Coke can have as much time as they want. An hour and a half later, she was done with the interview. You have to find people before you can leave them. And so it's absolutely huge in communication, the ability to find people. In the area of leadership, I got 15 more minutes. Can I do 15 more? Am I all right?
Yes.
Okay, is that all right? Wow. Just give me a moment, just trying to figure what to cut out. All right, here we go. In the area of leadership, when people ask me, when I talk about everything rises, in other words, it either does really well with good leadership or it does very poorly, it falls with bad leadership. People ask me, what causes leadership to be good? What causes leadership to rise? Two things. Good leadership skills and good values. And you have to have them both. And here's why. The only common characteristic that leaders have around the world, there's only one. And that is that leaders see more than others see, and they see before others see. So they see a bigger picture, more, and they see a quicker picture, before. More and before. Are you with me? Now, when I started off in leadership 50 plus years ago, you didn't have to see before. You just had to see more. Because things weren't moving as quickly as they are today. Times have changed. In fact, I'm watching because of social media and just instant news and the availability of knowing what is happening very quickly anywhere. I'm watching with interest that what used to be you had to see more than others see, almost now it's not being replaced, but where more was kind of a standalone, and then it became more and before. Now before is starting to tip. It's almost like you've got to see it before others. Trust me, Mark and I were spending some time with one of the big, large, incredible companies in the world. Major company. Billionaire founder was sitting with us, and we were talking about their company and developing a leadership culture in their company and that whole process. And he's number one in the world. I'm not giving names out here, but he's just number one in the world. If I give the name, all of you know anyway. And he said, what's interesting? He said, we're the largest in the world. We're the most successful in the world. But he said, I see we have a 5-year window that if we don't make some major changes, we're going to very quickly lose that position. Now, what's he doing? He's seeing before others see. Now, when you see more than others and before others, let me tell you what it does. It gives you the leadership advantage. If I see more than you and I see before you, can I tell you something? I'm going to win. To be honest with you. Because I saw more before. It puts me in a winning posture. Now the question is, when I see more than others see and before others see, the question is, what am I going to do with that leadership advantage? Am I going to use that leadership advantage to help people, or am I going to use that leadership advantage to help myself? If I use it to help myself, that's bad leadership. It's called manipulation. I move you for my advantage. But if I use that advantage more and before to help you, that's motivation. Now I move you correctly so that you can do very, very well. This is life-changing. The moment that we begin to understand that we use the leadership advantage either to help people or to help ourselves, everything changes. When I did the opening session at the United Nations in New York City, they asked me to speak for 2 hours on leadership. Now, get the picture. We have all kinds of governments there. Dictatorships, kingdoms, socialism, democracy, all kinds of different leadership environments. And I kept asking myself, how can I connect with these people coming from various backgrounds of leadership? And that day, for 2 hours, I spoke on this subject. What every follower asks about their leader. 3 questions. Do you care for me? Can you help me? And do I trust you? Those are the 3 questions. Do you care about me is about compassion. Can you help me is about competence. Can I trust you is about character. When you grow in your leadership in those 3 areas until you say, I want to be a leader that cares for people. In fact, I tell leaders, when you stop loving people, you should stop leading people. I want to be a leader that cares for people. I want to be a leader that can help people. I want to be a trustworthy leader. The word equipping, wow. I would encourage you to do what I call the leadership dance. The leadership dance is that as you lead people, you move. You don't stay in the same place. You don't stay in the same position. There are times when you are before them. That's called leading by example. There are some times you're beside them. That's called listening to help people. There are times that you're beneath them. That's called lifting and serving people. There are times when you're behind them. That's called learning as you equip and watch them. There are some times when you're above them. That means you're looking for the big picture. And then there's attitude. My gosh. Attitude is the difference maker. Attitude isn't everything, but it's the main thing that makes a difference in your life and your bad and the life of someone else. My father used to have an expression. He would say to my brother or myself or my sister, when he wanted us to focus on something, he'd say, put that before you. Because he knew what you focus on expands. So he would say, if it was something that we needed to think on, he'd say, put that before you. And if it was something that we needed not to think upon, he'd say, put that behind you. Before you think upon it, focus on it. Behind you. When it's behind you, it gets smaller. When it's before you, it becomes larger. And so I would encourage you to put before you the things that are positive. Put before you the fact that everything that's worthwhile is uphill. Put behind you the fact that people want success easily and quickly, which doesn't happen. Put in front of you that failure is your friend, and put behind you that failure is your enemy. Put before you that bad times are good, and put behind you that bad times are bad. Put in front of you that attitude is a result of choice. Put behind you that attitude is a result of conditions. Put before you to let your light shine in the darkness. Put behind you cursing the dark times. All of this is mindset. All of this is attitude. And then I wrap it up, of course, with relationships. Let me just say it this way. When you travel to great places, I find that people congregate around fountains. There's something life-inspiring about fountains. They're lifted high, they're spraying, and there's energy in fountains. People, you know, man, you go to Rome and you go look at the fountains and you take pictures of the fountains. You know, fountain, when you think of fountains, you think of attractive, beauty, energy. It's a plus. But let me tell you the opposite of a fountain is a drain. Drains suck. No one ever went on vacation and said, what are you hoping to do? And they said, oh my gosh, I'm hoping to see some of the great drains of the city. Man, I just think, gosh, if I could just take a picture of that drain is something. Look at it, just sucking, oh my gosh. Oh, let me stand beside the drain here. Let me lay down by the drain so you can really get a picture of me and the drain, and of the drain. You're either a drain in relationships or you're a fountain. You're either giving energy to people or you're just sucking life right out of people. I close with this. I have a book that just came out called High Road Leadership. It's just becoming a leadership culture book. It's a picture of what does a high road leader look like. I also have another book out with Chris Hodges called Jesus, the High Road Leader. I put them out about 4 months apart. It's how Jesus was biblically such a high road leader. It just lifts you, it inspires you. And I close by giving you the characteristics of a high road leader, because that's what I would want you to be. There are 12 chapters and there are 12 pictures. What does a high road leader look like? You see, when I speak and when I write, I do it in pictures, and here's why. People do what people see, not what they hear. If they hear it, they lose it. If they see it, they keep it. So I teach in pictures, I write in pictures. And so I'm going to close by giving you the 12 chapters of a high road leader. This could be your leadership culture book for your team. I just spoke to Ford Motor Company. It's becoming their leadership culture for their whole company. High road leaders bring people together, value all people, acknowledge their humanness, do the right things for the right reasons, give more than they take, develop emotional capacity, place people above their own agenda, embrace authenticity, are accountable for their own actions, live by a bigger picture, don't keep score, and desire the best for others. That's the picture of a high road leader. I think it has potential of being a picture of the Confident Company. I think it has a picture of who you are. So let's grow. God bless you.